Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Super Rugby. And once again, I'm joined in studio by our very good friend, Piri Wipu. Piri, how was your weekend?
Yeah, not too bad. The boys got the dub over New Plymouth, but she was a bit ugly. But they got there in the end, and there's definitely a lot of smoke in the weekend at the Tinny House.
Yeah. Speaking of smoke, we'll head up to the big smoke. Our good friend Ben Searle of Searle Talk Sports. Searle, how did Northcote go on the weekend?
Yeah, it was a famous victory, mate. I think Takapuna actually won as well, Paulie. So both clubs that you thought I played for got the dubs. But yeah, 60 points to 20. She was a good bonus point win. A lot of running rugby, so a good day for the coat.
You play a full 80 minutes, or did you get to have a rest?
Yeah, got the rest this week, mate. It was much appreciated as well. Once the scoreboard started ticking up, the old legs decided they'd had enough for the day, so off we came.
Any wine and cheese afterward? What was the deal after the game?
No, I actually departed to go watch Warriors just because of the time slot. You know, it got very close. But now the boys took it easy last. We've got a game this weekend, a big game. It's pretty much like the Ranfurly Shield of North Harbour Club Rugby, and Massey hold it at the moment. So the boys were well behaved in preparation for that one.
Big game. Oh yeah, look forward to hearing the.
Was there a curfew on you boys or something?
Hey, we're not that professional. If you put a curfew on us, the boys would go through.
Please.
Well, if there was a curfew, Searle would have stayed out over it because the Wars game went to Golden Point all the way, the whole 10 minutes, and still no decider. So,
Stuffed up a few picks.
In terms of the Wars, I think they were lucky to grab the point. They'd be happy with grabbing the point. Down 16-0 and then down 8 points with less than 2 minutes to go. They were lucky to take it at Golden Point. But we'll get back to the code that we're talking about here, Super Rugby. And I've got a question for you two boys. Look, we're through 8 rounds so far. Which team do you think will hold the wooden spoon at the end of the season? And it's a pretty packed field down the bottom of the Super Rugby table at the moment. The Force are there at the bottom. They're on 5. Crusaders are then on 7. Then we go to the Highlanders at 11, Tars at 12, Moana Pacifica at 13, and the Drua at 13 points. Now, 2 of those teams have played 8 games, so 1 extra game, and that's Moana Pacifica and the Waratahs. So having looked at that sort of bottom part of the table, Searle, we'll go to you first. Who do you think at the end of the season will have that wooden spoon?
I think the wooden spoon will go to the team that I thought was going to upset a few teams this year in the Western Force. Like you mentioned, they're sitting last at the moment. They got the Crusaders at home this week, and then they head over to New Zealand for a bit of a 2-week stint against the Highlanders and the Chiefs. So their next 3 games are all against Kiwi sides. Then from their last 4 games, they've still got teams like the Brumbies, the Tars, the Rebels. So I see them winning maybe 1 to 2 games to round out the season, and I don't think that'll be enough. So I think they'll get the wooden spoon this year.
Piri, you the same sort of thinking, forced to get the wooden spoon, or can you see someone else challenging the bottom of the table?
No, I'm pretty much in the same boat as Searle with this decision. They haven't really but no, they just don't have a lot going for them at the moment, attack and defense wise.
Look, it does look like the Force probably will pick it up. Oh, look, I'll throw someone else in there. I'll throw in the Waratahs. And I know that's a crazy thing to say, that a team that has beaten the Crusaders twice this season could still be a chance of picking up the wooden spoon. But they've played an extra game. They're on 12 points at the moment. They've got the bye this week. And then they've got a very, very tough sort of month after the bye. They've got the Chiefs over in Sydney. Then they come to the Tinny House to take on the Canes. And then they've got the Brumbies. So they could conceivably go through those the next 4 weeks without picking up a win, which would really, really turn the screw. I think the most important game for them is the game where they travel to Perth to take on the Force. That could be the one that decides the wooden spoon for mine. But the Force certainly are in a bit of trouble at the moment. So, yeah, tough times for those out west. Shall we get to what happened last week? And I can tell you, I think all the outsiders won last week. Strangely enough, if you have a look at the games, certainly Moana Pacifica were outsiders in that first game of the round against the Reds. I'll just have a look at that game, and I guess the cards, the ill discipline by the Reds really cost them in the end, Surly. They went down 14 to Moana Pacifica. They tried to hang on the Reds, but in the end, that just pressure and the fact they were playing short for a good part of that game came back to haunt them. And that was a game they probably thought that they'd pick up a few wins, pick up a few points.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it at the back end of the season, they might look back and regret that one a little. Like you touched on, finished the game with 13. Shout out to Moana, because I'm sure their confidence was pretty shot heading into this week. It was probably a game they circled as well, one they wanted to target up in Whangarei, but they hung in there right until the end of the game. Harvey scoring right there on the death to get them the dub. But I think the Reds probably were the better side for the majority of that game. Just some foul play, some stupid stuff, a bit of a brain explosion. But this was a really intense game, man. Both teams were up for it. And I think we saw from the reaction from Moana at the end just how much this win meant to them. They get the bye this week, so they'll come back a bit refreshed. And hopefully they can put some pride back into that jersey towards the back end of the season, because I thought for the first month they looked really good. Then the wheels fell off. So hopefully this one can kickstart them and help them kick back on towards that business end.
Piri, Moana Pacifica had been leaking points the past 3 weeks, and although they're probably aided by the fact that the Reds were short-handed for a good portion of that game, the defence sort of held up a lot better than it has done over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think the opposition that they go up against. Obviously, a lot of the New Zealand teams like to express themselves, throw the ball around quite a bit. Which makes things a lot difficult for those boys to move side to side. I think the Reds tried a little bit of that and probably should have stuck to it a bit more throughout the course of the game, just to try and move those Moana Pacifica defence around, get them a bit more fatigue so that they can create opportunities out the middle of the field. But yeah, I think like we've touched on a little bit of ill discipline by the Reds, and potentially thought that we can roll these boys over. But for Moana, potentially this could be one of the games that they actually targeted. Here we are talking about them trying to target the Blues, being in the same sort of city that you want to try and beat up the big brother. But maybe all these Australian teams are the ones that they want to try and win as many of those so that they can stay well and truly away from the bottom. But it was a good game for them. The Reds did blow up great opportunities, but I guess Moana done a lot of homework and tried to make sure that they got everything right.
I hear next season that they may be looking at Moana Pacifica, may be looking at Seminole Stadium as their home base, which I think is a good thing. They can create a wee bit of a culture up there, get some good hometown support. I'd still love to see them take a game to Samoa or to Tonga. But I think that's a good one to move out of the big smoke, which is sort of right in the heart of Blues territory, and take. And I think it works against teams as well, having to travel to Auckland and then up to Whangarei to take on Moana Pacifica. So hopefully they continue on with some good performances this season, and next season maybe create a wee bit of a fortress up there at Seminoff, if that is the case, that they do decide to make it their home base. Second game, oh boy, oh, where's Izzy Dag when you need him? Waratahs 43, Crusaders 40. And this game had all sorts go. It was a quick start. Severies had a double inside 10 minutes. They were going from a game that had quite a bit of defense into a game that had almost no defense whatsoever. It was, I guess, let's look at the end of the game, Searley. And did the referee mention you've got so many seconds left, you can probably run it down? Well, what happened towards the end there? Because it looked like they could have just not wasted time, but taken time within the laws of the game, kicked the conversion, and the game would have been over. But there were 8 seconds left also.
Yeah, I think Reihana panicked for sure, because he's well and truly within his rights to just wind that clock down, and then that was the final play of the game, and they win by 3 points, and the result would have been completely different, and it would have been some really important points too. So yeah, I think he just panicked a little there, and that opened up the door for the Tars. And then we saw what kind of played out from there. It was interesting too. I think the Crusaders scored in the first minute last time they played them and lost to them over at that super round. So both times they scored almost off the opening whistle and then got mowed down. So if you gave the Tars the option to play the Crusaders every week, I think they'd jump on it at the moment. But yeah, I think that was just a bit of inexperience there from the young first 5. I'm sure he wishes he has that moment all over again. It was almost 4 points that went begging, but what a game it was. Like, if you were going to sit down and want to watch a running rugby game, entertainment, just non-stop the whole time, then that was one of the better games we've had this season.
Is it possible he misheard the referee, Piri, and instead of the referees, letting him know there's not a lot of time to go, you can take your kick and the game will be over? Or did he think the referee said, get a move on, take your kick, or you're going to run out of time? And I'm just trying to think of how Reihana didn't take all the time that was there.
I think it'll be just inexperienced. And most goal kickers know how to milk time so that you can pretty much kick and the game's over. I mean, look at what happened in the Bledisloe. Australia were milking the time to try and eat it up and got pinged for it. But, it's just inexperience and I guess panicking at the same time, where he thought that, if I get told off by the referee, we might get points taken off us. So yeah, I'll put it down to inexperience. Most goal kickers these days know how much time they have. They milk it right up until you pretty much have to strike the ball, and then everything's done with their time slot.
Next game, the game of the round, and it didn't disappoint either. And boy, oh boy, were the Canes very, very good against a very good Chiefs side. Just you look at that team, they lost Roygaard obviously for the season. TJ steps in, scores a couple of tries, directs that forward pack around. That forward pack's looking very, very good. Set piece, which has been, I guess, not the strongest set piece historically for the Canes. This year it looks very, very good. The Canes have to be very, very happy with the way they're traveling. And Piri's prediction that they wouldn't lose a game until round 14 when they travelled to Hamilton to take on the Chiefs, is looking very, very good at the moment, Sealy.
Yeah, just one of his many predictions which have paid out this year, and that's why he's atop of the tipping. But yeah, I guess if you'd told the Canes pre-game that they were going to win 13 plus, I don't think many people would have believed you. The bookies certainly wouldn't have, because the Chiefs went in favourites, but they look fit. Like you mentioned, that scrum of theirs is humming at the moment. Lomax and Numia have had massive seasons. I thought Asafo Amua, he continues to go from strength to strength. And I think he's loving having that leadership role, because by all accounts, when you speak to people in the rugby circles, perhaps he's been his own worst nightmare off field over the last couple of years. But I think he's really stepped up with that added responsibility, and he's playing some great footy. Like if you look at him head to head against Taukiaho, you'd have to say Asafo Amua was probably the best player across the weekend. So well done to him. Yeah, they just look like a well-oiled machine. Pick up another bonus point win, and on they march. I thought they dominated the first 40. The Canes came back straight after halftime and threw a few shots at them, but like all good signs, they just absorbed that and then finished strongly to get the win. So it's positive signs, and no doubt Piri's got some inside oil for us, but geez, they must be a confident camp.
No wonder he keeps backing them. He's getting all the good oil from the camp.
Yeah, he's not sharing it.
Yeah.
Not getting any inside information whatsoever.
I'll tell you what, I don't wish any more injuries on the Canes, but if another halfback goes down, I'm guessing that Piri's the next one in line to put the boots back on.
I'm probably at least 30 kilos heavier than I used to be, so there's no chance of that happening. And after a game, I'm not running 10 Ks for recovery like TJ over the weekend. I mean, yeah, Shirley pretty much said that they're looking really good. I think they've just got a really good environment at the moment, which helps. The boys sort of feel confident that everyone understands their role. Doesn't matter who comes in. And yeah, I guess we have talked about TJ coming back. Oh, he looked awesome on the weekend in terms of his style of play that we've all known him to play, and directing, and then not only that, getting a couple of meat pies in the process. But I mean, across the board, like if you look head to head with the matches, the back three trio, that was a huge one. Obviously, the tight five in itself. We talked about set piece. That scrum is looking more and more dominant than anything. I think the percentages might be in the 90s, which is not a normal percentage for especially scrum time anyway for Hurricanes in the past. So they've done some great work around that. Not only that, their lineouts been going really well, and I think they're just this style of footy that they're playing. They trust in it. They believe that it doesn't matter what's been thrown in front of us if we stick to our processes, stick to what we know, stick to everything that we've been practicing during the week. And continue for 80 minutes, someone will crack, and that's when we'll get our opportunities. And man, there's definitely been a bit of smoke in the tinny house.
Right, last game of the round, and the Rebels took care of business against the Highlanders, 47-31, and Darby Lancaster scored a hat trick in the process. And boy, oh boy, he looks like a winger that is always in the right spot at the right time. He's got some wheels as well. Don't worry about that. But there are just certain players who sometimes just pop up just where they should be to score the points. And that's what he did. And this Rebels team is looking very, very good, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Sitting in 3 wins in a row now. They get the bye this week. Crusaders the week after that. If you'd told me that they'd be sitting ahead of the Chiefs after 8 rounds of footy, I would have laughed in the preseason. So well done to the Rebels. And this is another game where they were underestimated at home and they proved to be too good. I'd be disappointed if I was the Highlanders. It was probably a game that they had circled and one they wanted to go after. But yeah, this Melbourne side, they're no joke. On the field, they're ticking boxes. I'd never heard of this Derby Lancaster guy, and to be fair, I hadn't watched a lot of the Rebels play, but like you touched on, Paulie, that stuff doesn't just happen by accident. Like good wingers or great wingers are always in the right place, and people watching just think he's on the end of stuff, but that's a skill and an art in itself. So well done to him, and it's cool to see the Wallabies potentially unearthing a lot of young talent, which I'm sure Joe Schmidt and co will be really excited about.
Certainly makes the upcoming rugby championship a little more exciting, just on the back of some of the performance of these individuals who put their hands up for Wallaby selection. Highlanders were slightly disappointing though, Piri.
Oh, I think everyone would have backed the Highlanders to actually get the dub, but just because of all the background stuff that's been going with the Rebels. But I mean, I think the Rebels pretty much got themselves into a position where they understand what's been working for them. They continue to chip away at it, critique it for whichever team that they go up against. And yeah, it's a bit disappointing for the Landers that they didn't come away with the win. Definitely had their opportunities, but didn't quite capitalize on them. But touching on Lancaster, reminds me of a young Zach Guilford and a Dougie Hallett. They're working hard off the ball, just to be an option. And if they're not there, he's working his butt off to get back to where he should be on the wing. But, the best wingers in the world are the ones that actually go roaming in and work hard off the ball just to be an option, whether it's cleaning out, where they're not supposed to be cleaning out, or they might be on the receiving end of a offload that gives them, sets them up to get a meat pie. But he's definitely a young Zach Guilford and Doug Hallett, where they work hard off the ball just to be an option around their whole team structure.
Right, let's look ahead to this weekend, round 9, and no derbies. A Derby Lancaster plays for the Rebels, but no New Zealand derbies this
See what you
weekend.
did there, Paulie. Nice.
Yeah, I try my best. But the first game, very interesting game too. The Drua back home to take on the Canes. 7 o'clock in New Zealand, which will be middle of the afternoon over there. So if it's a hot day, that humidity will be through the roof. Currently, the bookies have the Drua $4 outsiders in the match result book. The Canes are $1.25. The Drua at $21. The Drua are 11.5 point underdogs at home, and the game total is set at 59.5. We know the Drua are a totally different team at home than when they're away. But they're coming up against the Hurricanes team that is just going from strength to strength. So, Surly, can you make a case for the Drua at home?
I think whenever they're at home, like we've touched on in previous weeks, you can make a case, and that point start looks quite appealing. I think 27 degrees, 84% humidity and raining is the forecast in Suva for Friday. So that kind of ticks every box as to what you don't want to be playing in if you're a Hurricanes player. So 11.5, I don't mind that. Of course, the Draw bet the Canes last year in Suva, I think it was in round 9 by 3 points. But in saying that, the Canes took that opportunity to rest quite a few players, and I don't think they do that this week. I think everyone's well aware now that you don't rest players heading over to Fiji because the Draw will show up and make you pay. So I'll be backing the Canes, but I don't mind that 11.5 point start. Just have something on the draw. I'm interested to see what Piri's got, though, because these are his two teams, really.
He's going to take the Draw at $21, mate.
Not the worst, yeah.
As Surly said, Piri, it's no longer a Fijian holiday heading over there to take on the Drua. You've got to go prepared. You've probably got to put out close to your best team on the field as well if you're serious about picking up the win. So can you see the Drua keeping this one close?
Yeah, I definitely do. But in saying that, I think the Canes have got enough depth. I think they can afford to not rest players, but put a few on the sideline and potentially bring them on to finish the game. But I don't think it matters who they have in their starting 15, because I feel they've built enough confidence with their depth that they've got that it doesn't matter who goes into that role, they're all going to do get the job done. But it's always tough to go to to Fiji. I mean, we talk about the humidity. If it rains, it's another story too. No one really wants to be around there in case it's a bloody a lake or a pond on the on the field. But I'm still backing the Canes boys to go over there and get the job done. It's not going to be easy, but I'm pretty sure the coaching staff and all that would have done a lot of training in their high veld facility out at NZCIS to combat the thin air that it's going to be over there in Fiji. So, but yeah, I think they've prepped well enough. They will definitely be prepping well enough with that to get the job done.
I told you we get the good oil from Piri. He knows what's going on. The high velt training. I love that. Yeah, that's brilliant. Second game of the round, the Reds hosting the Highlanders. Reds $1.45, Highlanders $2.90. Draw at $18. The Reds are 7.5 point favourites, and the game total is set at 59.5. The Reds will be without McDermott and McRae, who are suspended both for 3 weeks. So there's there's a whole lot of experience with those two players out. Do you give the Highlanders a chance then, Surly?
Yeah, I do, but they really need to win this game. 2 wins from 7 games after that promising start to the year that they got off to. They've been a bit disappointing over the last month or so, so they really need to target this one and get up for it, because this will round out that little Aussie tour with a win and a loss, which I think you'd look back at as a bit of a success. So I'm sure they'll be up for this one. At the same time, I think the Reds will be filthy at themselves for dropping that game last week. Taking them on at Suncorp is no easy task. So I think the Reds deserve to be favourites here. My heart says go with the Landers. My head says go with the Reds, which is always a tough one to toss up. But I think this has the potential to be a big game. The Highlanders need to win this, or else they're in real potential of missing out of that 8, which I think would be a disappointing season for them, given the talent that they have on that roster.
Pity the Highlanders. Can they bounce back from that big loss to the Rebels last weekend? They've got a fairly, easier games coming up after this round. They've got the Force at home and then Moana Pacifica. So if they can pick up a win against the Reds, they're potentially looking at three in a row.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I guess the biggest thing for them, could it be a relapse of what they used to have, where they started really well in the past, and then sort of near the middle of the season they sort of get a bit fatigued. Jamie Joseph's down there again, so potentially those guys could be doing the old tricks of Jamie, and he's flogging the boys, thinking that you need to be faster and more fit like the Japanese boys. He's not in Japan anymore, and those boys aren't robotic down south. But I think that they've just got to stick to their processes, get it right, and make sure that they're clinical and the 1%ers, like the carry clean, making sure that when they do see opportunities, they're putting guys into space or into holes, and then they're backing them up. So if the Landers can do that, I can potentially see them, going over there and getting a job done. But losing 2 key members in the Reds teams, it's not easy to bounce back when you've lost your leaders like that. So I'm looking for a bit of an upset. I've kind of got the Landers to win here, and I've done my multi too.
Well, gee, Pity just took me back to an 80s hit with his little preview there. Tomo origato, Mr. Roboto.
What?
Yeah, that's different. All right. Yeah, we'll move on to the next game.
This has been all over the show, hasn't it? Jesus.
Different one this week. We're going from the tinny house.
Yeah, a bit of Japanese. I like it, Paulie. You're well travelled, mate.
Yeah. Okay. Blues, they're $1.25. Brumbies, $4. The draws at 18. Blues are 10.5 point favourites. The game total set at 54.5. Surly, Blues, do they just continue on their way? The Brumbies, and as we've seen already this season, they're the best Australian team. Can they cause some issues for the Blues this weekend?
Yeah, this is a huge game, and I feel the $4 here for the Brumbies was quite disrespectful. I'm sure if this game was in Canberra, it would be a lot tighter than that. And saying that, I do think the Blues should get the win. It's 2-3 though, so I was surprised to see such a big spread. I thought the pricing was going to be a bit tighter. Both sides have only lost the one game. I do feel like the Blues are really starting to hit their straps now. A massive test for their forward pack, who have been impressive this year, but we know Brumbies at set piece time in particular, that's where they do their best work. So I like the Blues in a tight one, 1-12, but I was surprised to see $4 head to head for the Brumbies. I think that's a bit too much.
Pity, both teams coming off the bye, so they should be fairly refreshed. But are the bookies showing the Brumbies enough respect, making them 10.5-point underdogs?
No, I don't think they are at all. Although the Brumbies have had a few hiccups against some of their derbies over in Australia, where they've made it really tight when they probably shouldn't have. But I think they just pretty much do what they always do. They just chip away. Everyone starts talking about every other team but the Brumbies, and then once they actually get to the back stages of the season, then everyone actually realizes, oh, hang on, why aren't we keeping a close eye on the Brumbies? Obviously sitting third at the moment, but I mean, still, I think they could potentially potentially be an upset this weekend with this. This is a big game between both teams in terms of the table. But not only that, it's if the Brumbies want to get that opportunity to host a semi, they want to be making sure that they get the job done this weekend so that they can put their best foot forward, so that they can don't have to travel as much.
Right, last game of the round, we travel out west. The Force hosting the Crusaders. Force $5, Crusaders $1.17. The draw at $21. Force 14.5-point underdogs at home, and the game total set at 62.5. Surly, the Crusaders just going to run right over there in Perth, or will the Force put up a bit of a fight?
I don't know about run riot, but geez, that they'll be desperate, and they need to win this game for sure. We spoke about how you need to win 4 to 5 games to make playoffs. They're still sitting 6 points outside of it, and this is certainly one that they need to get back. So, yeah, all they need to do really is win this, bank the points, and come away with the result. I'm excited to see Severis. I think he's been exceptional this year, coming back from that ACL injury. He's been their one consistent player who's just constantly given them at least 8 out of 10 performances. So I think he will score a couple tries, that's for sure, and I'll be backing them to win. I'm just not sure by how much, but surely they get the result.
Piri, Crusaders pick up another win for the season against the Force, or have you got something to say about that?
No, but we did talk about the Wooden Spooners, and they're only one slot away from beating them. So it's a pretty tight battle between the two. You'd expect the Crusaders to walk away with this one, especially the way that they've been playing. Their games have been pretty close. They just haven't quite finished majority of their games. So I don't think the Force have got much firepower in terms of their structure or their blueprint that they've got. So yeah, I potentially can see the Crusaders walking away with this, but it's not as long as they can get it right. That's the main thing. As long as the Crusaders can get it right, so that they can, I guess, build a bit more confidence. It'll help by getting the dub this weekend. If they can get that done, it'll start building a bit more confidence within themselves.
Right. Let's get down to some punting now, and having a look back to last week. Surly, were you successful last week?
Geez, I almost pulled off one of the great multis with that Moana Pacifica 1-12, Rebels 1-12 upset multi. I was a bit gutted the Landers let me down there, but that was probably getting me back up close with Piri. But the big question everyone wants to know was Paulie's 2-leg safe as houses multi successful finally?
Yeah, those I think those houses crumbled yet again. Um, that's why we're in a housing shortage in New Zealand. My
Yeah, there we
houses
go.
just keep crumbling. It's no good. But there was a little ray of sunshine because Piri did have $25 on Braden Yose to score a try.
What was that paying, Paulie?
That was $3.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
He
No,
picked
take
it before the teams were even announced. There's that
I know.
inside clue again, eh?
I was hopeful on that one.
Well, if he doesn't play, you get your money back. So
Smart.
yeah, he has looked very, very good all season. And geez, he's very strong. It takes a couple of players to bring him down. So not the worst bet by Piri there on Braden Yose. And he's obviously knocking on the door of All Black selection. He can't be too far away. And we might actually have a look at some All Black bolters in the next few weeks. Just maybe we could name our top one or two players who we think might be bolters for Scott Robertson's first ever All Black squad.
Well, that's a tough one.
Mm.
It'd be all right if it was someone like Steve Hansen or Fozzie.
Well, we could have a whole team of bolters with Scotty Robertson.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, he's a
Razor
different.
could go rogue.
Yeah, he's a different type of coach that potentially, thinks definitely thinks outside the square or the
Yeah.
box when it comes to selection processes. So, I mean, we might come up with these ones. We're way off the mark. So we're going to have to work hard on trying to pick the right ones.
Paulie, I think Piri's hinting that Razor's reached out and that there's a potential comeback on the way here.
No way.
Oh, gee. Oh, good. Yeah. I wonder if we can get a book open with the bookies there. Pity to make the first All Black squad of the season. Oh,
I've
boy.
spent $10 on worse, Paulie, I'll tell you that much.
Righty-ho. Let's get to some punting this week. Shirley, where are you gonna put your cold, hard-earned cash?
I'm going to go $80 on the Canes, Reds, Blues, head-to-head, and the Crusaders. Chuck them in a four-leg multi, paying $2.51, but I'm very nervous now around Piri going for the Landers. He's scared me off a little. And then my final $20 is on a Reds 1-12, Blues 1-12 multi, paying $7.10.
Oh, very straightforward, very simple. It's almost safe as houses, those that first
Right.
multi.
Hey, get out of it. Get out of it, Paulie. I'm sick of this, mate. You're better than that, Paulie. Don't stoop to that level. Come on, mate.
You're going to go with an easy and safe one this week too, Paulie?
Yeah, straight bat, Paulie. Straight bat.
Possibly. We'll see what happens.
I'm going to go with a two-leg multi with the Brumbies to upset the Blues and the Highlanders to get the dub. I'll put 50 on the nose for both of those teams or for the dub. I'm going to go try scorer again this week. I don't even know if he's in the team, but I'm picking TJ because this is a chance for him to get the record.
There you go. Inside oil. TJ will be starting against the Brewer. So
No chance of that happening.
The boys have been told, pass the ball to TJ.
When it's close to the line, don't expect any forwards to get it. If he's right there, he'll have a crack himself. And for the first points in the game, I'm going to go with a penalty goal to the Drua for $25, even if that's one thing that you can do. Can do it?
I'd have to pick the team as
Oh.
well. Hold on.
Come on.
Where are we?
Try things up here, Paulie.
First score of the game. No, penalty, $2.35.
I'll take it.
Yeah, easy. Right, we're recording this on Wednesday morning, so no teams have been announced, but I'm
Have a
taking,
quick look.
putting the whole 100 on a double. That's what I'm doing.
Uh-oh.
It's not safe as houses. I'm going to take Mark Talia to score a try into Sevu Reese to score a try.
Oh.
All 100 on. Boom. Sick of picking teams that can win. I just want players to score tries now. Talia, and Severies. Bang.
Is it just our try or first try?
No, our try.
Okay.
Our try.
Go first, Paulie. Go first.
It'll probably
Yeah,
pay more. It'll probably pay more. How much is that paying?
Well, the teams aren't named, so I can't say at the moment.
Okay.
But I'll tell you next week when it wins. Don't forget our Super Brew tipping comp as well. Surly, did you move up the table or down the table?
I'm in 78th, so I moved up 2 spots, but it's not a number I'm proud of. I'm still aiming for top 50. How this is working, because my tipping's been all right. Oh, my punting, sorry, but when it comes to tipping, I've got a bit rogue here.
Piri, where's Powser?
He's moved up 1 spot. The one team that he didn't pick, bloody come up trumps. Didn't back Moana on the weekend, and
Yeah.
it just threw me right out. But I did pick up big points for the Canes game against the Chiefs. I think Canes to win by 14. So you stay within 5 points. That's right.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Well played.
Very good. And I'm outside the top 100, but congratulations to Moose Man, who's now top of the table on 37 points. And of course, to Marge, who had the best round for round 8. So keep playing, punters, because there's some bonus bets to pick up at the end of the regular season. So it's a pretty stacked leaderboard that we have at the moment. What is there? There is 4.5 points separating 10th from first. So still anyone's game, apart from mine or Surly's or Piri's.
If you update where our previous leader is at now, Paulie, you know the name. It's just
Let's have a look. It's
left my mind, but
yes. C. Poisset, 69. It's in 4th place at the moment.
Nice.
Still there.
Still there.
Yeah, he's still there. So
I think he's French, right? So by the judging of that name, so maybe the internet's been down in France a bit, but he's bouncing back.
Well, we're 100 days out from the start of the Paris Olympics. So
there we go.
Could be something there for C. Poisset, 69.
Oui.
Don't forget your Mega Multi-Buster on the oval ball code. Missed by 1 leg on a 4 or more leg multi, 2 on a 6 or more leg multi, 3 on an 8 or more leg multi, and get a bonus bet up to $50. We've also got some same game claims on this weekend's Super Rugby. In fact, we've got them on all 4 games because all 4 games feature a New Zealand team. So the Drua Hurricanes, Reds Highlanders, Blues Brumbies, and Force Crusaders, they're all same game claim matches. Just place a 3 or more leg same game multi, and you'll get a refund up to $50 as a bonus bet if you miss by 1 leg. Check out all the T's and C's on the TAB website or the app. I think that's about it for this week, boys. Anything else to add? Who have Northcote got this weekend? I think you mentioned it at the beginning of the show, Shirley.
Yeah, I tell you what, mate, one more slip of the tongue and I'll be ending this call and I won't be coming back. I'm sick of this Takapuna rhetoric. But yeah, we're taking on Massey for the Les Pearce Shield. So big game.
We're sort of doing a bit of training before we go to camp next week. And that I'm hoping that I can go out for a bit of a hunt over the weekend during the Raw. So
whereabouts you head over the
Martinborough.
Oh yeah,
head over there with a mate and see if we can go for a bit of a hikoi. My daughter was like, when are we going over? I want to go for it.
What do you go? Wild pigs or?
Nah, for some deer, stags.
But
they're roaring at the moment. It's
Right,
that time of
pigs
the
don't-
year.
That time of the year?
It's that time of the year.
You know, they
Is that
call it the
time of year?
roar. Pigs don't roar, mate.
They squeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like wow.
Oh, there we go.
Is that you've been hanging out with C. Poisset? Is that what?
Yeah, there we go.
It's probably a good time to wrap this show up for another week. My thanks to Sealy for joining us. My thanks to Piri for coming into studio. and giving us his thoughts on round 9 of Super Rugby. And we'll be back next week for another go on the Pick and Go.